with the internet, you're allowed to basically create a more free-flowing spectrum of what you watch and get information more catered to what you like and fill in more blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a good thing that we have the internet, but I think in that alternative media space, and I think it actually will, in the long run, help the trust of the media. But the problem is there's that ongoing battle that I talked about with the media mainstream media trying to take over that. Which is why NBC gave millions and millions of dollars to like Vox.
Yep.
Because they're trying to influence that and put their profit and motive narratives into that alternative media space.
And the other thing with alternative media and media in general is I think it's actually outlined perfectly by the pandemic we're having now, is when you have so many voices, people can be confused about like what they're hearing. It's like essentially a information overload where you don't really know what's going on. I mean, for the first couple of weeks of the pandemic, it was just like, well, what the fuck is anyone doing, you know?
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even now, in the pandemic, it's still an information.
It's an information overload.
You get one side saying, hey, we are in the midst of another crisis that we got to figure our shit out real quick. And then you got another side saying, hey, relax. Everything's going to be just fine. We'll get through it fairly quickly. Don't trust what the other side is telling you. And all of that, especially, I'm just going to keep referring to this situation, it takes away from, like, the experts' point of views. Like, you have political commentators saying their opinions, and then they're saying, like, hey, like at the beginning of the pandemic when Fox had a graphic where there are 0 coronavirus cases in the U.S. and it was Sean Hannity going off, we have nothing to worry about. And then you have, like, other experts behind the scenes, not even affiliated with Fox or any mainstream media source, just, you got to be alarmed. You need to keep an eye out, stay safe. Mm-hmm. And then now we get to this point, and what's changed? Probably nothing. You have experts kind of getting a talking platform, but then you have one side that is just trying to shut them out and saying, hey, what does he know? But really...
Well, I think you're always going to get that as long as you have the, I guess you could say, large corporate media hive minds trying to influence the narrative. But, I mean, with the whole thing about experts, obviously, if somebody is very knowledgeable about a field, we should still value their opinion. But the problem is the confines of what the corporate media overlords, if you will, what they pour their money into doesn't necessarily need to be pundits. Like, they can very well get to experts too,
No, I know, but it's like they choose not to sometimes.
Yeah, but they do whenever it benefits them. And I think this also is part of the reason why people mistrust experts, because the fact that experts can get corrupted and then can say things that otherwise they wouldn't say. You know what I mean? And I think that's why there's a distrust for even people like Fauci, which I'm not saying that you should distrust Fauci, but I'm saying, like, when clearly he has a career that is intertwined with politics and shit like that, as well as the medical field, because he's been involved in politics a while too. Clearly, he still has an incentive to cater to, I guess, political administrations and political sides and play that game in addition to playing the game of spreading information about his field that he's an expert in.
Just because he's been in and around politics doesn't mean he has to cater to, or he is catering.
But you're right, it doesn't mean that, but it raises the question of whether or not he is. I mean, you kind of get where I'm coming from?
Kind of.
And I have a lot of respect for Dr. Fauci personally, and the fact that he's still involved in the Trump administration, despite the fact that they've had their back and forth, but they're still willing to work together on things, I think that earns a lot of respect in my book.
I don't think they've been on speaking terms for a while, since...
I have heard that, yes.
H.W. Bush called him a hero. What year was... I don't remember the year, and then I don't remember the year, and then he was awarded Medal of Honor by W. Bush. I mean, if we're gonna say that his expertise is twisted because
I'm not necessarily saying it is, but I'm just using him as a stand-in for other experts, because let's be real, there's a lot less prominent, more sketchy experts whose opinions can be twisted by, I guess you can say, media sources and their own opinions.
The thing you have with media sources is sometimes there's no real live fact check, so you can have people just claiming they're experts and then going on, and then what do they know? This guy's actually just some rando off the street.
Pretty much.
Dr. Oz.
What about Dr. Oz?
He's a prime example. Going on Fox News before all this started, and just that would fit into your category of getting twisted, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just like to reiterate, the only reason I use Fauci as an example is because he's a prominent expert, probably the most prominent expert at all.
Right now,
right now. And regardless of the content of what he's saying, there is a lot of people who don't seem to trust him. And that may be very well not warranted at all. In fact, I think most of the mistrust towards him is not warranted. But that being said, we have to ask ourselves, why is there this trust that's not warranted? Like, because we get in this position where people don't trust the experts, and I view that as a problem regardless of what the experts are saying. Just the fact that there's mistrust for experts. And then you got to ask yourself, why?